Hello, and welcome to another edition of Spotlight on Unicorns. Today we are talking to Vivian Chan, and Vivian and I met in a very interesting way. It was actually through another person that I was working with at Jumio, Alix, and I can never remember Alix's. He's got a very long number of names. Alix and I worked together at Jumio, and he had suggested that Vivian and I connect and meet with one another. So she was actually in town in San Francisco. I drove up, we met, and I think instantly had a connection with one another. And since then, she has been an amazing person to talk to. She's got a really, really interesting history of what she's done for work and where she's going to be going. And so I'm going to hand it over to you, Vivian, and if you could introduce yourself for us.
Sounds good, Nicole. Yeah, we had one of those brunches that just, we're like, we're gonna be friends for life, aren't we?
It was awesome. Yeah.
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 It was incredible. And so my name is Vivian Chan, and I consider myself a friend first and foremost, community builder and entrepreneur and technologist. And I've been involved in three waves of technology, data analytics leading to AI, computer spatial computing technologies like augmented reality, virtual reality, and also I would say cloud SaaS, models that I guess everyone's been involved in. But I would really say that I've just been very fortunate to enter the technology sector when I did in 1999 and just grow with it, grow and learn from it. And so here I am today, telling a little bit more about my story.
Excellent. And so first off, why did you choose to be an entrepreneur? What was sort of
Mm.
the decision, how did you get into the place that you're in right now?
It's so fascinating. I didn't know I was an entrepreneur. But funny enough, I had a number of mentors in the corporate space that had said to me, throughout my career, I was like, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. And they look at me and they'd be like, you're gonna be an entrepreneur. You're gonna be an entrepreneur. And I'd be like, entrepreneur, what?
Hmm.
Like, what am I gonna be an entrepreneur of? And um that was how I started my entrepreneurship journey. Like, what I'm gonna be an entrepreneur of what? But at some point in my career in 2015, when I realized for my own self that I needed a break from technology, I had done it for a long time. I had done it for a long, long time, and I just needed a break from the sector. I wasn't learning anymore, and I wasn't excited about technology anymore. I
Mhm.
realized that I just had to make a shift in my life. I needed to take a pause on, put technology in a pause and figure out what would fuel my passion. And what ended up happening is I followed my curiosity, and it led to so many interesting directions, from volunteering for a climate change organization called Blue Green Dream in London to working in my alma mater, Simon Fraser University, helping set up and start SFU Innovates, an innovation cluster which brought entrepreneurship, social innovation, and research together. And that, in some ways, then propelled me into entrepreneurship. Seeing a lot of amazing students and researchers build companies, I got a little bit of the bug. And when I got an opportunity, when I met my co-founder, Angela Pan, we decided we would build a company together called iExpo in augmented reality, and did that for 2 years.
Mhm.
Raised $5 million, and we started to build a platform, scale it, and then pandemic happened. And
Mhm.
as a entrepreneur, one of the hard knocks in life is you also need to know when to fold. We were in tourism technology,
Mhm.
and we know what happened to tourism. The
Yeah.
whole sector got decimated, and we sunsetted that organization, got everyone hired. That
Mhm.
was our priority to our people, and but since then, I've been entrepreneurial since. Once you catch the bug, you kind of keep going. But I would also say entrepreneurship is a vocation. People don't talk about it. It's like you're
Mhm.
not born an entrepreneur, you learn how to become one.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
it's like being a plumber. It's like being a IT network, infrastructure expert. Like you learn where you learn some skills that enable you to um, be a more effective entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
I'm still
you
learning, but I've been learning, and it's been great.
Well, and you have to learn how do you raise money? How do you get
Hmm.
investors? How do you get your first customer? Like all of these things. Of course, I mean it's a huge
Yeah,
it is a profession. It's a vocation,
yeah,
like you
it
said.
is.
And so, on that note, what did you want to be when you were little? Like, have you always been sort of, the person, as a smaller version of you? Like, were you the one
Yes.
always trying to like, come up with new ideas or like get people together?
It's there was like when I was like really young, I wanted to be a an actor and a dancer.
Mm,
Yeah, I am very artistically inclined. I was a paid child actor who did 6 weeks of the King and I musical when I was 5 and loved it. And and so my performance background in many ways um has been really useful, in sales and marketing roles where I have to articulate complex concepts. And so, I'm definitely leveraging that aspect of my personality. But yeah, I first and foremost wanted to be an actor and a dancer. That was like my first profession of choice.
nice.
Um, and then later on, it's so funny. Remember Melrose Place?
Yeah.
Remember
Yes.
Amanda in Melrose Place? I wanted to be like an agency owner. I wanted to be like this marketing powerhouse agency owner. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to be when I was growing up.
Nice. Well, and as where you are now, you are an owner. You're a boss. You've
Yeah.
started your own companies, and so it's kind of nice to see how
Hmm.
that's transitioned and into what you're doing today. So,
Yeah, Melrose Place has influenced me for sure.
so what's in your experience? What's been the hardest part of your job?
I think it's prioritization.
Mm,
Um, Time is a finite resource, and how you use your energy and focus as an entrepreneur or as anyone
yeah.
with the remaining time that we have is key. And so for me, because I'm such a deeply curious person, I
Mhm.
can get off tangent and be like, ooh, that's interesting. I want to learn more about it. That's interesting. And my focus is something that I need to balance. Like, and so for me, that is the hardest part of my job, but it's also related to my personality.
Yeah, it is hard. And there are so many new things to learn, and it's so easy to try to get, like you said, to get
Yeah.
down into the weeds on certain things.
Yeah.
Um, with where you are now, what's one thing that you wish you would have done differently?
Hmm. I really, really have this practice of living life with no regrets.
Mm,
It's this notion that every person's journey has its bumps and ravines and joys and surprises,
mhm,
and that I'm exactly where I need to be in this moment because of all those things that come before me.
mhm,
So it's my way of honoring the present in a
mhm,
way, because if you live in the past and have regret about done differently, it means that you're still living in the past, that
yeah,
there's something that you wish you could travel back in time and fix. There's nothing I want to go travel back in time and fix,
mhm,
because I truly believe that in this moment, I'm exactly where I need to be. So why would I change the past? And so I think it's this acceptance of the now and a faith in the future.
mhm. Yeah. No, that makes sense. And our meeting was at a moment in time in my life that I really needed to meet somebody who's got such a positive attitude about things and is so incredibly creative.
Mhm.
And you were one of the people that really helped me put more meat on the bones of this whole spotlight idea. So literally right after we had our meeting, I had the first interview. It was with my sister. And so it was great to have that conversation with you because you helped me with, sort of putting more structure around it as well. Like, why
Mhm.
am I doing this? What is the whole point of
Mhm.
doing this? And so that was incredibly helpful. And it was at a time that I really needed somebody like you in my life. And it's just like, and there you
Mhm.
were, right? So
Mhm.
it was definitely a very fortunate meeting. So I'm very grateful about that. So I love your attitude about, learning from the past, being you're here because of all the things that have come before, and not to dwell on the stuff in the past. But if you could change one
Mm-hmm.
thing about the job that you've
Mm-hmm.
got now, what would
Mm-hmm.
that be? What would you change?
What would I change? I mean, I always say that in every moment we have to be kind to ourselves.
Mm,
It's kindness to ourselves is a practice. I, I, I think kindness is the foundation of all relationships, but we forget that the first and foremost relationship that you're accountable for is yourself.
yeah.
And if you think about all the negative or critical self-talk the voice in our heads, like if you really, it's like you really have to think about the tone in which you talk to yourself. That tone will dictate how you nourish,
Mhm, mhm,
like literally nourish who you are as a person. And if that tone is in a very negative, condescending, judgmental way, then you're not going to be able to nourish yourself. And if you're not able to nourish yourself, you can't nourish others.
mhm,
And so that's the thing that, I think my younger self, I wasn't so kind to who I was. And I
mhm,
wish that, I not I wish, I practice being aware of the tone in which I address myself.
mhm,
And I think that's a really, really important one. And that's why it's inspiring to that brunch that we have was super inspiring because we were talking about all these unsung heroes in our society, all these incredible humans that have really rich lived experiences that we can all learn from each other. And I learn from you and vice versa. And so, this podcast is a platform for sharing those lessons learned and sharing those stories, and hopefully, we all can inspire each other and learn, um, from those lived experiences. So,
yeah, absolutely. I read a really interesting thing the other day. There was a gentleman who had an opportunity to talk to the Dalai Lama at an event, a conference, and this gentleman was very interested in negative self-talk and how does it have an impact on our lives. It's not only our lives, but our health and our relationships with others. And so he asked the Dalai Lama about, negative self-talk. And I was just paraphrasing it, but the Dalai Lama said, "What is that? What is
wow.
and so the whole concept of negative self-talk in other cultures, it doesn't exist, so
Wow.
it might be a very Western thing, and I know it's definitely
Hmm.
socialized as a female thing, right? Do
Hmm.
that. I'm not good enough, all of these things. And so I
Hmm.
think it's so important to have being, like you said, being kind to yourself. And it's so hard to do. I can be so kind to others, but then it's so hard to be kind to yourself, right? And so I think
Exactly.
that is a huge thing to overcome. And I
Mhm.
hope for hopefully for the next generation of people that are coming up, women, but also men, is like,
Mhm.
trying not to do that as much because it is
Mhm.
so harmful to your psyche, right? It really
Mhm.
limits you for being able to really reach your full potential, is that nagging, that inner critic, right? And so, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that's a really good point. I love that you focusing on being kind to yourself. Um,
Yes.
so what would you tell your younger self about where you are now, if you could describe where you are?
I would tell my younger self it's gonna be fun. Like life is gonna be really fun. And trust your instincts,
Hmm.
follow where there's like joy and flow for you. Don't lower your standards ever for how you want to show up in the world
Hmm.
and how you want to live. And that you can't be bought.
Mm, that's good. That is really good. Um, who do you think has helped you the most along the way with your career, with moving forward and advancing? Who do you think has helped you the most?
I've had so many people come at pivotal times in my life. I really do think that, they come and they really they set you forward or help teach you something really profound. But the mentor that always comes back to me is in 2010 I moved to New York and I was I did a board assistant role, kind of like a chief of staff role for the CMO of SAP,
Mhm,
Marty Homlish. And he was a really prolific teacher for me
mhm,
because I got to learn from him. He was so gracious about teaching those that work for him how to get buy-in, how to
mhm,
how to drive very significant institutional and like even social change. If you think about it, it's like it's change management and how change management works, how to bring everyone along,
mhm,
how to craft a narrative that people can understand
mhm,
amongst a complex change, how to rely and lean on a really strong team of people, that you don't have to do it all yourself, that you need to bring in all the experts. And so I learned a lot of my strategic and executive management skills and leadership skills through my time working for him, because he was so generous at sharing how his process worked. And so very, very grateful
yeah.
for that.
Yeah, that's amazing when you can get mentors like that, people that are willing to stop and take the time to talk to train the next generation, right? I think that's a
Yeah.
huge part of when you when everything is gone, because working in software, right? Working in the
Hmm.
technology industry, like things that you worked on last year, they're gone now. It's something completely
Hmm.
different. It just changes so quickly. You can't really point to that and go, I built that, whereas, if you were
Hmm.
building a building or building a
Hmm.
bridge or something, it's got longer, but it's more about the relationships that you've made and the knowledge that you've gained over these experiences.
It
So
is, and I feel like I'm a lineage of many teachers. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Marty
yeah,
being one of them, a really, really critical one of them. But I literally feel like I carry the knowledge of multiple teachers that have come in my life, and it's weird. Like you hit a certain age, you're like, oh, I'm a collection of,
yeah, yeah,
and like I'm more than me, if that makes sense. Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
my,
You're an
my
amalgamation of all these different people,
yeah,
together, and
this
you make
knowledge,
and
yeah.
you make your own way from that, right? All of these different bits and pieces. And so now your
Hmm.
knowledge that you have is,
Hmm.
you created by yourself, on your own. It belongs to you.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
but yeah, that's it's always that's what I think is the best part of our careers and our jobs,
Yeah,
is learning from these people and then passing on that knowledge to the next generation as well, right? So I think
exactly.
that's the best part for me anyways, most
Mhm.
meaningful. What is your most important job?
What is my most important job? Oh man, there's so many jobs. There's so many roles and so many hats that we play.
Yeah.
There's so many hats that we play. Um, it's really important for me to be someone that shows up. So, as I said, shows up as a friend,
Yeah.
and a great partner for my husband.
Yeah.
I think that's foundational. I think um how I show up as a leader or entrepreneur or whatever, what I start is really, really important. Like the tone of culture that I set, those things are really, really important to me as well.
Mhm.
But then the third part is, again, it's how, and I don't do this well enough right now. I literally was reflecting on 2024 plans, and I'm like, yeah, I gotta take care of me as well, right? Like gotta spend time, invest my time for me time, for
Mhm.
like mind body health. Like when am I literally scheduling blocks to go to the gym, or scheduling blocks for quiet time to
Mhm.
journal and reflect, and or take like a weekend off to just read books and hear myself think, right? Like we get really busy servicing others, servicing our career, our profession, and then where does the last element of self come in? And so that's showing up for me right now.
Yeah.
That those three things you kind of need to look at and be like, how healthy are those three elements of my life?
Mhm.
Community, family, profession and self. And right now, I've been reflecting on the need to be a little more structured and intentional, and invest time in self.
Yeah. If there, so this is kind of an interesting question. I haven't been asking everybody, but this seems like a good question for you. But if you could have like any kind of magical tool that just,
Yeah.
what would what to make it, your job easier or life easier, like what do you think that would be?
Oh, you're gonna hate this answer. I'm really bad at admin, so I really do need I like I'm so, um it's two things. I'm so bad at admin that I need help in that area.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hopeless. There's things that you're really good at, and there's things you're really bad at.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the admin side of life that I'm so bad at. But I would say more time. It's always more time.
Yeah.
It's always more time. It's always again, it's always time. You're fighting against time. But I've also chilled myself out a little bit because I'm like, all right, I turned 46 this year, and everyone's living longer lives right now. Like
Yeah.
we're probably gonna live till 90 plus, given advancements in nutrition and
Yeah.
understanding of that, and even, health tech and all that. So I'm like, I'm probably like halfway mark of my life. So
Yeah.
chill out. Like you
Yeah.
got time. You got time to do stuff, right?
Yeah.
And but it is time. It's still time because that is the only thing that's finite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think a lot of people, especially, our generation is coming to the realization like, wait a minute, it's not over. Like there's a lot more to go.
No, I'm gonna be working till I'm like 89, you know?
Yeah, and you also like as you gain experience and knowledge, like things that used to take you longer to do is now like, oh, I can do that in 10 minutes. You get
Yeah.
better and more efficient at it. And so
Yeah.
hopefully you'll get more time with, as we're getting better at things. And maybe some of these AI assistant chatbots or something can help you with some of the
Yeah.
admin as well, right?
Some of it,
We'll see
yeah.
where it goes. We'll see where it goes with that. So this is the last question. So this is my favorite one. So, what kind of unicorn are you? What kind of special magic do you have?
Ooh. I'm like I'm like the happy unicorn, the one with the rainbow.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
My Little Pony, there was like a rainbow unicorn. I don't know what that unicorn was called, but
I can't
I
remember.
really do, I really do, I really do try to live feeling gratitude and joy. Like, I want every day to have rainbow moments. It's
Yeah.
like it sounds really cheesy, but every day I wanna feel the rainbow inside me.
Mhm, mhm. And I'll say this, when we met the first time and I sat down, you just sort of you radiate that, right? Joy, positivity, happiness, and you're just being in your presence and even over Zoom having these conversations, I always walk away feeling like, yeah, everything's going to be okay. Those are some really great ideas. I feel energized. I feel like, I can take on some new things, and it's always sort of
Yeah.
playing in the back of my head for like hours, after we have our conversations. And so I think that you're spot on. I think that happiness, joy, unicorn, definitely. And I'm just so grateful that I got an opportunity to meet you. And I'm looking forward to, continued relationship, in the future. But that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you as number 10 unicorn interview, if we've officially hit 10. So, I'm going to keep going with it, but I really appreciate all of the time that you've spent today. And I really hope that people find this interview as interesting and joyful and as inspiring as I have today. So thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Sending everyone sparkles.
Yes, sparkles. Cool.